Hello and welcome to this video. This is Pandemictivities, number whatever this is. The last one was learn something difficult for certain reasons. And this one is practice something easy. And the reason for practicing something easy is that we have the opportunity in a very short amount of time to go through the entire learning process of one piece, from first contact and looking at the score and solving things and working out grouping and fingering, all the way through playing it, self-critique and all of that. So in other words, the complete loop, closing the loop as often as possible. So I've got a little piece here by Chima Rosa, and you've got a link there to it. It's the second one in that linked file from IMSOP, and this little adagio in G minor. So just glancing over it real quick, first of all, the accompaniment is this really simple quarter note thing that's not very active. And then there's a lot of activity in the right hand, a lot of quick note values. So the speed of the right hand is going to limit how fast we go. The other thing I'm thinking about here is, since it's obviously supposed to be very lyrical, I want to get the most resonant, luminous sound out of the piano that I can. So whenever I can get away with it, I'm going to use pedal. But when I have a lot of stepwise melodic stuff, that's not possible. Also, I'm going to avoid really forte dynamics because those die off really fast and they show the piano at its most percussive. But when you play at the lower levels and then pedal it, the level of sustain is quite good. You know, the sound will hang in the air a long time. So I'm going to try to get the listener to tune into that level so they hear more of the sustain. I'm not going to shock them with big chords that make them shut their ears down a little bit and not hear the sustain. So those are my kind of opening strategies. Let's just read a little bit here. I think we're going to have to stop and talk about some grouping in some of these passages that are coming up. But for now, let's just have a go. Definitely going to have to figure out what that passage says. But so far, I kind of like this this idea where we have especially these little echo things. Those are going to be cool. Do I want to pedal through this? I could. You know, that's up quite high, and I think you can get away with this. And then definitely as the bass moves, you'd have to pedal that. Also, I would bring out the bass in that second measure because that's the only thing that's happening and changing. So I don't want to hear that's not so interesting, but that's a little bit more clear. All right, so fourth measure with this very quick arpeggio. This is just outlining G minor with one little passing tone near the end. So the only question here is, how are we going to group it? And I think the fingering in the addition is fine. Get those first three, and then get those four, and then thumb moves to there. Probably the 4 and the 3 on B flat, I don't really care that much about that. I don't have to switch. I could do either one. I understand why. That's actually not a bad fingering. It almost seems like the logic is do those 3, then do those 4, then do those 3. These 3, and then really like that. So if I were working on paper, I would draw in slashes. T, da, T, slash, 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 slash. Okay, let's practice that. And again. Trying to memorize it now. I really like the way the grouping actually kind of gives me almost the phrasing of that. Oops. I'm going to hang around at the top a little bit. Maybe that top note. Okay. Many ways to do that. I probably would not pedal through that whole thing. I don't know, that just doesn't float my boat. Let me hear this. I kind of dig that. With this next bar, where we have C in the bass, we don't know the entire harmonic recipe until the E flat on the and of 2, okay? Oh, it's that, okay? So it's that sound. But I don't know that now. So I would give myself permission to pedal through that and let that sound accumulate. That would sound like this. I might bring out that B flat because this is going to be a great little suspension. Okay, there. That would be gauche, would it not? Would it not be gauche, ladies and gentlemen? Let's see. Yes, that would be gauche. So, okay, all the way down. Next, I really want a light sound. So I'm going to look at fingering, and here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is not self-evidently the best fingering. If I really listen to that, I don't know, I just don't like it as much. Something that my great teacher Raymond Hansen told me to do was play those 5 notes, use 2 hands, and get whatever division you want, but get the best sound you can imagine. Okay, so now that we have, I kind of like ya ta 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 ta, ya ta 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 ta. So I'm gonna think about maybe 2 and then 1. I can get a better sound. Again, this is gauche. This is disgusting. Patooey, I hate it. So, and slightly different. The first one just leans on G a little longer. And the second one doesn't need to, because we already said that, right? farther away for the C minor chord, you know. And then maybe, I don't know, more optimistic here. I love that. Little birdies. Something comes next. What happens next? I find this fingering really helps me get that sound as opposed to. Do you hear how clumsy that is? How just lacking in suave debonair finish. It's so clumsy. Hi, how you doing? Instead of good afternoon, it's a pleasure to meet you. It's just not refined, you know? Okay, I'm gonna hear, and I'm gonna hear it go all the way to there and finish before I go do it again. Wow, tritone. We'll get back to that. Boy, did I hear this a lot from otherwise wonderful students teaching on this last tour. Not listening to the line, to the end of the line, and caring for and curating and managing and polishing the sound at the end of the line, so that you really don't abandon and go off to the next thing. You hear it and you finish the sound. I was working with a student showing this young man this stuff, and just the idea that we show all the lines, what they're doing and where they're going, rather than just playing them all accurately. And he said the most wonderful thing at the end of the lesson. He said, so really, that's the difference between a pianist and an artist. And I said, exactly. Go conquer the world. All right, so anyway, finish. And now this one doesn't finish. The first one, da 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 ti da, resolves there, and then starts again. Now this one, da ti da ti da 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 da. So we want to hear the first one concludes and is rounded off, and the second one keeps breathing and goes for that tritone appoggiatura. So this will be incredible. No! Don't be gauche. Don't be clueless and tasteless and disgusting. Just keep the pedal less and less. Just ride the diminuendo all the way down. We already know it's in B flat. Okay? We already understand that. We don't need to be hit over the head. It's like someone who tells a joke and then goes, get it? Don't do that. Okay? Less is more. So now we return and we have some of the same material here. And I think, following many of these same principles. So that's really how I work through these easy pieces where, you don't really have that much technically. We had that cool arpeggio in the fourth measure, and I had to think for a minute about how to group that. But more I was really thinking about the quality of the sound, testing out different fingerings to see if I could really get a great, interesting, articulate sound, and being very willing to use unconventional fingerings if it just gets me the sound more easily, and trying to imagine making this as vivid and interesting as possible to the listener. So now I'll just play a couple measures just to finish off.